Delivery delays are getting worse. Shipping costs keep climbing. The world's two main trade routes, the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal, are in trouble. The Panama Canal is drying up due to drought. The Suez Canal is tangled in the chaos of global conflict. With supply chains stretched thin, companies are desperate for a better way. Now all eyes are shifting north. Climate change is melting ice that once made the Arctic impassable. A frozen route, once impossible, is starting to open. Could this Arctic passage become the next global trade highway? And if it does, what happens to Panama and Suez? The Red Sea has become the red zone for the cargo ships, which has forced them to avoid going through this route. Why? Because this area is a war zone made by the Houthi rebels. Many now need naval escorts to pass safely. Others are choosing to sail around the southern tip of Africa, adding over 7,000 miles in weeks to their journey. Meanwhile, halfway around the world, the Panama Canal is facing a different kind of crisis: drought. An ongoing lack of rainfall has lowered water levels in the canal's locks, forcing officials to limit how many ships can pass each day. At one point, more than 50 ships were stuck waiting. To make things worse, the cost of passing through has surged, with some tolls rising up to 8 times higher. Combined, these two choke points have seen cargo traffic drop by 33%. The impact: delays, higher costs, and massive headaches for businesses everywhere. In this environment, companies aren't just hoping for alternatives, they're demanding them. And that's why the Arctic is suddenly on everyone's radar. For many years, the Northwest route has been a nightmare for explorers and adventurers. A quicker link between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans was promised by this elusive sea route, which wound through the cold Canadian Arctic archipelago. For traders, especially those eyeing markets in East Asia, it could cut thousands of miles off traditional routes. But nature had other plans. Treacherous conditions, towering sea ice, and brutal Arctic winters made the route nearly impossible. Countless expeditions failed. Some ended in tragedy. The passage remained more myth than reality. That is, until recently. Climate change is rapidly transforming the Arctic. Summers are now seeing record-low ice coverage. In some years, parts of the Northwest Passage have become navigable for weeks, sometimes even months. What was once a frozen no-go zone is now a serious candidate for global trade. The big question is no longer can we, it's when will this become the new normal? And can it handle the scale of modern shipping? The Panama Canal has been one of the most important channels for decades. This route has completely changed the trading system between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans ever since it opened. Since 1914, the route has saved ships from weeks of traveling. When Panama officially took over the canal from U.S. control in 1999, it didn't just maintain it, it expanded and modernized it. The result? A huge economic success. By 2019, canal toll revenues reached $2.59 billion, the highest in its history. Expanded locks now accommodate up to 90% of the world's oil and gas tankers. Today, around 40% of Panama's entire GDP is directly tied to canal-related services and trade. But that success comes with a growing risk. The canal's limitations, especially during climate-related droughts, are becoming more obvious. Transit delays are increasing, tolls have skyrocketed, and drought conditions have forced restrictions on the number of ships that can pass through daily. In this fragile context, the Arctic is starting to look like serious competition. If the Northern Sea Route becomes consistently accessible, it could offer faster, cheaper alternatives, especially during the summer. For global shippers, time is money, and the Arctic might soon offer both. The Suez Canal has been one of the world's most important trade routes, just like the Panama Canal. This route connects Europe to Asia through the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, but that lifeline is increasingly at risk. The Suez Canal is heavily dependent on political and military stability in a region that's anything but stable. In 2021, the Ever Given, a single stuck container ship, brought the canal and a good chunk of global trade to a standstill for 6 days. The economic shockwaves were felt worldwide. Egypt, which relies on Suez tolls for foreign currency and economic stability, is seeing a sharp drop in revenue. If the Arctic offers a safer, faster option, even for part of the year, it could permanently pull traffic away from the Suez. And for Egypt, that could mean a long-term economic hit. The Arctic is going through a massive change. About 3.15 million square kilometers of late summer sea ice have been lost since 1979. In just a few decades, a region almost the size of India would have vanished. On average, about 76,800 square kilometers of ice vanish every year. This dramatic loss is opening the door to something once thought impossible: regular seasonal shipping routes across the Arctic. Three key routes are now emerging. The Northwest Passage through Canada, the shortest route from East Asia to the U.S. East Coast. The Northeast Passage, also known as the Northern Sea Route, along Russia's Arctic coast. The Transpolar Route, which cuts directly over the North Pole, is the most direct, but also the most dangerous. According to scientists, the Northwest Passage could be almost free of ice during the months of summer by the year 2030. This would be a turning point for global trade. However, it won't be without risk. Even during the ice-free periods, Arctic navigation remains difficult because of the unpredictable sea conditions. On top of that, increased ship traffic raises the risk of oil spills. Underwater noise pollution is also an issue, and it could cause long-term harm to the underwater species. Many locals who rely on the stability of the Arctic environment are being affected badly because the operations even reach their territories. While Arctic shipping routes are still in their infancy, there are already successful real-world examples proving that the passage is not only possible, but also profitable. One of the earliest examples came in 2013 when the Nordic Orion, a bulk carrier, completed a journey using the Northwest Passage instead of the Panama Canal. The ship saved $200,000 in 4 days in transit time. This marked a significant step in proving that Arctic routes could be a viable alternative to traditional, longer paths. A remarkable instance occurred in 2017 when Finland's Norda, an icebreaker, accomplished a 10,000-kilometer trip in merely 24 days, an achievement that usually requires significantly more time via traditional pathways. These journeys act as a demonstration, indicating that Arctic navigation is not merely a theoretical idea, but a feasible, attainable objective. As each successful transit occurs, it sparks further interest and investment in Arctic shipping. If the economic benefits, reduced transit times, lower fuel consumption, and bypassing expensive canal tolls can be realized on a larger scale, global trade patterns could change dramatically. Major shipping companies, already facing rising costs and delays, may find these Arctic routes an attractive alternative. The only question left is, how soon can these routes be scaled safely for widespread use? Building a stable Arctic shipping route won't be so cheap and easy. The area remains a broad, mostly unexplored wildland, and transforming it into a significant trade route demands substantial investment in both infrastructure and technology. First, the essential logistics necessitate the construction of new ports, terminals, and navigational aids to support large-scale shipping. The severe conditions in the Arctic necessitate dependable icebreaker fleets to create safe routes for cargo vessels. These vessels are vital for preventing ice-related blockages and ensuring year-round accessibility. In addition, real-time ice monitoring systems are needed to track shifting ice conditions and ensure ships are navigating safely. Operational costs add another layer of complexity. Ships traveling through the Arctic must be specially designed to withstand extreme temperatures and ice contact, meaning additional investments in vessel hardening. The training of crew members should be non-negotiable. They need to be ready to face harsh weather conditions and should be trained to survive the extreme cold. Another concern for the route is security. Oil spills, piracy, and environmental threats need to be monitored, and special measures should be taken to prevent these mishaps. The major concern for the Arctic's future as a commercial route is whether the benefits, such as lower fuel prices and shorter trip times, will balance the significant initial investments. According to the cost-benefit analysis, these expenditures will yield greater returns the more traffic the routes can accommodate. For the Arctic to become a mainstream shipping corridor, cooperation between governments and private firms will be essential to tackle the logistical, regulatory, and safety challenges. Arctic waters are notoriously unpredictable, presenting serious risks for shipping. Icebergs, shifting ice sheets, and dense fog are constant threats. To ensure safe navigation, ships require enhanced designs, double hulls, specialized engines, and reinforced bottoms, resulting in increased expenses. Not all cargo ships are prepared for such severe conditions. The Arctic Sea Route has evolved from a theoretical idea to a potential reality thanks to climate change. With ice receding, shorter and faster alternatives to traditional shipping routes are now possible. However, the Arctic is far from being fully prepared for widespread use. Infrastructure is lacking, environmental risks are high, and current shipping vessels are not designed for extreme Arctic conditions. International cooperation and stricter regulations are essential for safe, sustainable operations. While it remains uncertain whether the Arctic will become the dominant trade route, its growing importance could reshape global shipping in the coming decades. And that's all there is to cover in this video. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like and subscribe button for more videos like this. Share your thoughts in the comments section below. See you in the next video. Let me know if you'd like further adjustments or formatting changes.